Question 3 he asked is, what is the solution of stopping future mass shootings? Now he says, I posed these questions to one ex-FBI agent, one retired sheriff's deputy, 2 active duty military police detectives, one trained former police captain of a major U.S. city, 2 U.S. Army veterans, and 1 USMC veteran discharged several years ago after 2 tours in Afghanistan, during which he sustained a severe personal injury. For obvious reasons, none of them wish to be identified by name, but their answers are below, and they speak to their credibility and authenticity. The answers to question number 1. Will President Obama use an executive order to call for gun confiscation? The majority of those answering the question told me they did not believe Obama would call for outright gun confiscation. One detective told me Obama will probably try to roll out an incremental restriction similar to the 1994 Clinton assault weapons ban. He would then wait for another mass shooting and use that event to ratchet up the restrictions. Only 2 of the 8 people I questioned thought that Obama would call for outright gun confiscation, and one of those believed it would only be a restriction on so-called assault rifles, but not shotguns or handguns. Everyone believed that Obama would, at minimum, call for restrictions on weapon magazine capacity. Oh, here we go with this argument again. Most likely seeking to limit to 10 rounds per magazine, which is also the current limit in California, currently. I was told that Obama might attempt to federalize mandatory waiting periods for gun purchases, which already exist in some states, but not all. Question number 2, will you enforce gun confiscation against the citizens of the United States? On this issue, the answer was a resounding and unanimous no. Absolutely not, under any circumstances. The retired police captain told me that door-to-door confiscation by men and women in blue, i.e. city cops, would be a suicide mission. If ordered to conduct such a gun confiscation actions, many would simply resign on the spot rather than risk their lives in firefights with determined gun owners, he explained. Our officers are not generally willing to assume the increased risk of such a police action. He also explained, more importantly, that most police officers have not even been trained to conduct sweeping. Community-level weapons confiscation programs. This goes against all our community outreach efforts. Oh, see, like I was saying back in my police academy days at the start of the show here, the policing is actually about building community outreach. Yeah, thank you. There we go. If cops suddenly became gun confiscation enforcers, trust would break down and policing would become extremely difficult, he explained. Now, the U.S. military... not military, dumbass, wake up. The U.S. Marine Corps veteran told me that some of the younger soldiers would go along with gun confiscation if ordered, but that nearly all other military personnel would likely refuse such orders. Even at the risk of a court-martial, some of the guys actually talked about this on deployment, he said. The E1s might follow those orders, but most of us who managed to stay alive through a couple of tours are too smart for that. You'd have AWOL out the ass. We didn't sign up to engage Americans as any enemy combatants, he says. The answer would be fuck no all the way up the chain of command. Now, one of the police detectives explained another reason for saying no. There is no love for gun confiscation in law enforcement. We're all gun owners, and most of us grew up with guns. Target shooting, hunting, or just collecting. He says most of us have gun collections when we're off duty, and Obama himself isn't well liked across law enforcement, period. There's no way to police officers are going to put up their lives on the line to go along with an order from a president who really doesn't have moral authority among cops. When I asked if Bush had called for a gun confiscation, would cops be more likely to comply to the order if it was given by a Republican, the reply was, for some guys, yes, because they will listen to a Republican more than a Democrat. But still, for rank-and-file officers who are just here collecting a paycheck for a risky job, there's no way they're going to engage in what basically is a war action just to keep that job. You can't pay them enough to pull that kind of duty, gun confiscation. I was told by more than one person in this group that any effort by Obama to invoke gun confiscation would lead America to civil war if any real effort were made to enforce that. Wow, that's scary, huh? Yeah. Never mind the criminals now. Yeah. Going down to good old question number 3 now, rounding this out. What is the solution to stopping mass shootings? Here's probably the most important question of the night, isn't it? The former police captain explained to me that the real problem with shootings in the city was dirt cheap handguns, also called Saturday night specials. As he explained, people that spend $500 on a nice handgun are almost never the problem when it comes to violent crime. It's the ones who pick up a junk gun on the street for $50. When I asked him about practical solutions to reducing shootings, he said that in his opinion, levying new taxes on all handguns, like the tax stamps on Class 3 weapons, would likely prevent new guns from being purchased by most violent criminals. But it wouldn't take guns out of the hands of the criminals who already have them. These people will break into your car to steal coins out of your vehicle's console. They have no morals, no limits. There's almost nothing they won't do to get what they want, which is usually drugs, he says. Now, as background, the BATF currently levies a $200 tax stamp for the transfer of any suppressor, silencer for you gun control noobs, short-barreled rifle, or full auto weapon, all of which are very expensive to acquire and require extensive background checks to legally own. Most of the gun violence in our city is drug addicts raiding the homes of other drug addicts. The statistics might appear to show a lot of armed robberies and shootings, he says, but it's really just a small subset of homes and apartments that are getting raided over and over again by the same people, the drug dealers. Now, when I asked what the real drug problem was, he answered without hesitation, meth. Not pot, not marijuana, not even heroin. Meth is the drug that drives violent crime in America's cities. End quote. The retired sheriff's deputy told me that the solution was to arm the teachers, tear down the gun-free zone signs, and put weapons in the hands of school personnel. This option was seconded by one of the active duty police detectives who said that he had actually worked several shootings but never a mass shooting. A mass shooting takes time, often several minutes, he explained. That's too fast for the police to arrive on scene, but it's plenty of time for someone already on location to pursue and engage the active shooter. And this brings me back to Mike DeSilva's post there talking about, don't worry, the officers will be there in 20 minutes. Hell, magazine capacities aside, let's break it down here for a second. I got an AK-47, 30-round magazine. Oh wait, Crash, you can't. That's illegal. Oh yeah, it's okay. I'm a criminal. I'm not actually bound by laws. So I've got my 30-round magazine. I got 3 of them here. This AK-47, what's that? 60 rounds, 70 rounds a minute. 20 minutes. Well, let's do some math here and figure out how many kids I can stack up dead in the gym in 20 minutes. Oh, now wait. Now you throw into the equation that, geez, the gym coach, the principal, several teachers' aides, and the frickin' janitor got guns? Well, geez, now I've got a tactical situation here. Now I've got to think about taking down the opposition before I can do all my mass killing of the kiddies. Okay, well, shit. Now how's this going to work? Okay, so I'm a crazed meth head. I don't have tactical training. I'm not a police officer. No. They're not going to be able to do it. That's the bottom line. Tactically, they're not going to be able to do it. They may kill 1 or 2 people trying to get to the kiddies, but yeah, Bob the janitor is going to wax the floor with that guy. So we need to think about these things here before just gut reacting to them. Yes, it takes time, several minutes. And I mean, these are police saying that, that's too fast for us to arrive on scene. We can't physically facilitate getting to you when there's this kind of a situation going on. So that's the first and foremost number one problem. Aside from the mental illness issue and the drug issues, we got to fix those first, I think. But, this tertiary kind of thing is something we really need to look at. He went on to explain that in training they have been receiving over the last 5 years, they have been taught that any engagement of an active shooter Even shots that don't hit the shooter are now believed among law enforcement to disrupt the shooter and force him to seek cover, during which his massacre is interrupted and delayed. Now, where police have traditionally been trained to confirm your sight picture, the weapon sights on the target before pulling the trigger, that training is being modified in some cities where, in the context of a mass shooter, firing off a large number of rounds, even returning so-called suppressing fire, which is a common military tactic, by the way, will encourage that shooter to take cover, thus putting himself behind something that hopefully will, deflect bullets, if not completely absorb them, and basically make that target stationary, make it so he can't go anywhere. And, you suppress him, and it's considered tactically acceptable until additional backup can arrive. The idea is to go in and engage the shooter, and even if you're just one officer on the scene. So here's another question too, gang. Let's all go back to 9/11. When we didn't have a problem after 9/11 rolling out those air marshals, did we? Shit, no. That was boom, overnight. Everybody, right on. We got some secret guy or girl here on the plane somewhere she's got a gun and she's an air marshal. So we can't take our box cutter now and take that plane over and fly it into anything, can we? No. See what they did there? Yeah. Threat to national security? You bet. Dealt with the problem? You bet. Did you see any other planes getting taken over after that? Nope. Least of all with a box cutter. Sorry, Mr. Taliban. Not today. That's right. So the air marshal program worked, but we don't want to stick one in a school? What the hell's wrong with you people? I might just be a dumbass Canadian, but this doesn't make any sense at all. All the gun control activists, coming at me with all their, well, I'm an educated person from an educated background and guns kill people. NBC, availability of guns is the problem. Yeah. Well, guess what? I disagree, and you're all morons. Thank you. Now, there's an article on this specifically at policeone.com. It covers the hard-hitting presentation by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. Here's a particularly, I can speak today, particularly compelling excerpt from the article. He says, the challenge for law enforcement agencies and officers then is to overcome not only the attacks taking place in schools, but to first overcome the denial in the minds of mayors, city councilors, school administrators, and parents. Grossman said that agencies and officers, although facing an uphill slog against the denial of the general public, they must diligently work towards increasing understanding amongst the sheep that the wolves are coming for their children. Police officers must train and drill with teachers, not only so responding officers are intimately familiar with the facilities, but so that teachers know what they can do in event of an attack. Come with me to the library at Columbine High School, Grossman said. The teacher in the library at Columbine High School spent her professional lifetime preparing for a fire. And we can all agree that if there had ever been a fire in that library, that teacher would have instinctively, reflexively known exactly what to do. But the thing most likely to kill her kids? The thing hundreds of times more likely to kill her kids? The teacher didn't have a clue what to do. She should have put those kids in the librarian's office, but she didn't know that. So she did the worst thing possible, of course. She tried to secure the kids in an unsecurable location. She told the kids to hide in the library, a library that has plate glass windows on all four walls. It's an aquarium. It's a fishbowl. She took the kids to hide in a fishbowl. And what did the killers see? They saw targets like fish in a fishbowl. Grossman went on to say that if the school administrators at Columbine had spent a fraction of the money that they'd spent preparing for a fire, doing lockdown drills, and talking with local law enforcers about the